Douluo. Respecting your Highness Qianrenxue, and Douluo. Residing in seclusion for 10 years, in charge of the Martial Soul Hall, Mysterious+Douluo, Utopian, host. Sumu Martial Soul. Utopian Dragon Approach. Sequence 0, Imagist Authority. Utopia. Everything I think is concrete. Whatever I say will surely unfold. Any words must be known. What will happen when Sumu descends to Douluo continent and sets foot on the mountains and seas of the world with Yuena? Utopia ability. A skill in fantasy anime. Currently available abilities include Swastika Jie, Big Red Lotus Ice Will Pill, Starry Night Realm Sea, Pierce, Death Spine Spear, King's Treasure, and Heavenly Lock. Keywords of the novel. Douluo. 1,000 Years of Seclusion, opening game Abducted Yuena without a pop-up window, Douluo. 1,000 Years of Seclusion, opening game Abducted Yuena TXT complete collection download, Douluo. 1,000 Years of Seclusion, opening game Abducted Yuena latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. 1,000 Years of Seclusion, opening with the abduction of Yuena. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 1. 1,000 Years of Seclusion, opening with the abduction of Yuena Utopian King City. Host. Sumu, Martial Soul. Dream Dragon, Authority. Utopia, Sequence 0, Lack of Ritual, Cultivation. Level 99, Quasi-Divine, Ding. The Millennium has arrived, please leave the stage as the host. The black-robed young man propped his elbow on his side face, shrouded in gray and white mist, and the corners of his mouth slightly raised. The void in front of the temple throbs. Yuena quietly descended and looked up at the black-robed youth above the silver throne. You're here. Thinking that the millennium has arrived, I will come to pick you up and take you out of the pass, Yuena whispered. Sumu stood up from the silver throne, and behind him stood a silver giant pillar. At the top of the pillar was a mysterious rune that shone like a star, resembling a dragon script. A huge double-open bronze gate slowly opened in the void of the palace, and dazzling light shone through the cracks into the Utopian city. His name is Sumu and he comes from a distant blue star. He travels through the system and his anchor is located on the Douluo continent. He did not cross the landing point anywhere on the Douluo continent, but landed in this floating city. The system prompts that he needs to stagnate here for 1,000 years before he can be born. His martial soul is the dragon of imagination, possessing the power of imagination from birth. Name. Dream Dragon, Authority. Utopia, Note 1. Fantasy Kingdom will inevitably descend into the material world, Note 2. The claimed future is bound to unfold, Note 3. Imagined items will inevitably emerge. He spent 20 years elevating his cultivation to level 99 quasi-divine level. The so-called quasi-god is a deity without a divine throne. By collecting enough power of faith, one can create their own deity and become a true deity. However, this is not what Sumu wants. At the end of the sequence of utopian paths, there is also an opportunity to become a god. True God Path, Sequence 0. Utopian Dragon, he devoted the remaining time to studying utopian power. With the passage of time, Sumu gradually gained the power of the Dream Dragon, and now there is only a lack of a divine ceremony. In addition, he possesses a series of incredible abilities. Soul Island. Expand the Consciousness Island and pull the consciousness of others into the dream world, Mind Storm. Performing mind control and consciousness guidance on enemies, Spiritual Manifestation. Bringing what is seen, heard, and felt into reality through the path of utopian cultivation, Sumu used the Soul Island to bring his own will to the Douluo continent in advance. Unfortunately, his position is too high, and there is no living creature on the Douluo plane that can withstand his spiritual will. If forcibly attached, it will only cause a person's will to collapse and fall into madness. He seems like a solitary soul outside the world, able to peek into the outside world but unable to have any communication with it. Until his will entered the starry forest, deep in the starry lake, he saw a lonely soul wrapped in a silver cocoon falling into a deep sleep. He took the initiative to touch the other person's soul and pulled her into the Utopian city, forming an inseparable bond with each other. She is the Silver Dragon King Guyu. From her, Sumu learned a lot about the mysteries of the divine realm and the mission she shoulders. Sumu also tells her many interesting stories, cultural attributes, and social structures about the human world. 1,000 years of leisurely time. Sumu taught her to play chess, calligraphy, and painting. He occasionally compiles storybooks for her to comment on. Guyu instructed him in his cultivation, explaining how to master the power of elements. Accompanied by thousands of years of time, we become familiar and acquainted with each other. At Sumu's suggestion, she changed her name to Yuena. Sumu climbed down the stairs and held Yuena's hand. Let's go. Yuena nodded slightly. Sumu led Yuena's palm towards the mysterious bronze gate. However, before Yuena could even step half a step towards the mysterious bronze gate, her figure fell into illusory disarray. Sumu suddenly looked back, her eyebrows slightly raised. Yuena looked at him, withdrew her steps, and gently shook her head. It's okay, we'll meet in the real world. Sumu nodded slightly when he saw the situation. He walked towards the bronze gate, his back gradually disappearing into the depths of light and shadow. A quiet and blank place. Sumu appears in the center of the blank world. A series of system frameworks appeared before his eyes. Host. Sumu, identity. Human race, martial soul. Dream dragon, authority. Utopia, sequence 0, ability. Soul island, soul storm, fantasy manifestation. Cultivation. Level 99, quasi-divine, soul ring status. Empty, obtaining permission to imagine the king's city, binding for you. Source material. Chaos Seek closure, ding. System task activated, fantasy path. Stepping through the mountains and seas of the world, consolidating the power of faith, note. Faith is the anchor, ding. You are about to descend to Douluo continent, please choose your landing location, the starry forest, by the starry lake, Sumu said calmly. System burning, preparing to descend. A mysterious light descended from the void and devoured Sumu, leaving him somewhat dazed by the strong sense of falling into the void. At the same time, Douluo continent. Starry forest, above. The sky curtain and flowing clouds surged and converged into a huge vortex of void, covering the entire forest. The deep whirlpool of stars looms, with lightning and thunder roaring, resembling a scene of destruction. By the star lake. The Tianqing bull python and the titan ape were vigilant and gazed solemnly at the sky view. This is. The 200,000-year-old soul beasts were stunned by the strange movements in the sky. Is it a soul beast that broke through 100,000 years and caused thunder calamity? No. Even crossing the heavenly calamity would not have caused such a big commotion. This is more like divine punishment. Several extremely terrifying auras emerged in the depths of the starry forest. The majestic dark power rendering erupts, accompanied by the resounding sound of dragons. The titan ape and the sky blue bull python, 200,000-year-old soul beasts, were frightened and prostrated on the ground. A massive, pitch-black dragon emerged from the darkness, with broad wings and golden eyes. Its fierce and rugged head was high, staring at the scene of the end of the world under the sky. Golden-eye Black Dragon King. Emperor Heaven, a dark green shadow emerged from the depths of the forest. That was a tall and stunning woman, dressed in a simple green dress, with hair curled up in a bun, and two pairs of swans of different sizes spreading their wings, with green hair hanging down. Her eyes were emerald green, as warm as jade, gazing up at the landscape of the sky, her stunning face revealing a hint of solemnity. Jade Swan Biji, deep in the cave. The huge creature woke up from its slumber and suddenly opened its dark golden pupils. Its sharp claws tore through the darkness, causing the boulder that had originally blocked the entrance to burst and the rubble to scatter in all directions. A giant bear with dark golden fur emerged from the deep ancient cave, with a pair of slender dark golden claws growing on its claws. It strode towards the direction of the Star Lake, causing the ground to tremble. Dark Gold Fear Claw Bear. Xiaogang, Ancient Trees. The withered trees of the silent years suddenly spring, and a pair of evil purple magic eyes open on the main pole, filled with terrifying spiritual power like an invisible network. Subsequently, a large number of ancient trees in the surrounding forests opened their purple demon eyes one after another. Forest Lord Demon King Lava Volcanic Areas. The three-headed mastiff dog woke up from the lava and shook its body, with magma splashing down on the ground. It was engulfed in hellish flames, with its three heads tilted back and staring solemnly at the sky. Three-headed red magic mastiff. Red King, deep in the Star Lake. The silver dragon cocoon buried deep inside sounded like the beating of a drum, with a slight opening on its surface. The elements of the external void are chaotic, with 7 major elements converging and colliding, and the sky is constantly changing. A massive silver scale dragon rose from the depths of the lake, and a massive half-body of the silver dragon emerged. The 7 elements surrounding the void seem to have found their destination and converged towards the silver dragon in the lake. The body of the silver dragon is enveloped by 7 elements, shining brightly, transforming into a stunning silver-haired girl. She is dressed in a close-fitting white dress, with silver hair flowing in the wind. Her eyes are translucent purple, and her bare feet are suspended in the center of the Star Lake. The 7 elements converge like a tide, forming a brilliant divine ring behind the silver-haired girl, emitting a brilliant divine light. Silver Dragon King Yuena, Emperor, pay respects to the Lord. The majestic man, dressed in a black robe and with pitch-black horns on his head, saluted her respectfully. Goodbye, Lord. Biji, Xiongjuan, Wanyao Wang and other fierce beasts all bowed to the silver-haired girl in the center of the Star Lake. The Titan ape and the sky-blue bull python were completely frightened and dumbfounded, obediently crawling and not daring to move. The silver-haired girl in the lake did not pay attention to the scene on the shore, but instead looked up at the sky view with some anticipation. Above the canopy. A mysterious black shadow enveloped thunder from above and descended over the starry lake, emitting a majestic aura. That was a mysterious young man dressed in a black robe, with long black hair swaying in the wind, and his eyes flowing with a faint golden luster. He looked down at the silver-haired girl standing in the center of the starry lake, with a gentle smile on his face. The new book sets sail and welcomes readers to watch. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. May I accompany you to explore the mountains and seas of the world? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. May I accompany you to explore the mountains and seas of the world's starry forest, by the Star Lake. Su Mu, carrying thunder from the sky, was dressed in a black and gold robe, swaying as her long black hair dissipated in the wind. The arrival of the mysterious man in the black robe, with whom the Lord had a conversation, shocked the fierce beasts at the scene. Does the master know that person? Would you like to go with me and see the outside world? Su Mu said with a smile. Gu Yuena nodded lightly. Emperor Tian. The fierce beasts on the scene were all shocked. What is the situation? Master, no way. Emperor Tian risked his life to invite him. The Lord is the Silver Dragon King, the half-body of the Dragon God, and the co-leader of the world's soul beasts. If a stranger walks in the world with his true body, it is likely to attract the attention of the divine realm. Su Mu raised his hand and a hazy purple aura appeared in his palm, drifting towards Gu Yuena in the center of Star Lake. Gu Yuena raised her hand to touch. The hazy purple aura suddenly bloomed with mysterious rules and rhythms, enveloping her whole being. The breath of the Silver Dragon King quickly subsided, and the colorful divine ring behind her gradually dissipated. As long as you don't use divine power, no one can tell your identity, Su Mu chuckled calmly. He has practiced for thousands of years in the Utopian city and naturally gained a lot. This purple chi has the effect of nourishing the essence and blocking the heavenly secrets. Nar, as long as she doesn't use her divine power, even if it's the divine king in the lower world, she can't see through her true body. It seems that you really want to take me to the outside world. Yuena's purple eyes were bright. A close friend is hard to find, meeting is fate, Su Mu said. Moreover, this is the best era. The best era. Yu's eyes flickered with a hint of surprise. If you want to change, you naturally need to start from the source, Su Mu explained. Yuena nodded lightly. By the Star Lake. With Su Mu's arrival, the thoughts of the fierce beasts on site were chaotic. Who exactly is the other party? After the Lord descended from the divine realm, he has been sleeping deeply in the depths of the Star Lake to recuperate. The other party is so familiar with the Master, it seems to be an old acquaintance in the divine realm. Is he one of the 9 Dragon Kings? The Emperor's heart was murmuring. I am not the 9 Dragon Kings, Su Mu said calmly. Emperor Tian's face slightly changed. He can actually read his own inner thoughts. Su Mu is quite familiar with Emperor Tian. 780,000 years of cultivation. Golden-eyed Black Dragon King. The master on the surface of the starry forest, with the title of Beast God. In Su Mu's view, Emperor Tian is more suitable than Yuena as the co-owner of the world's soul beasts. Unfortunately, this world is bound by rules, and soul beasts are destined not to become gods. Otherwise, with the innate talent of Emperor Tian, it is definitely a level 1 divine guarantee, with the posture of a divine king, you are. Emperor Tian held his chest with one hand and bowed to greet him. The dragon of imagination, I master dreams, fantasies, and creativity, Su Mu introduced with a smile. The dragon of Utopia. Emperor Tian raised his eyebrows slightly, his heart full of doubts. The 9 Dragon Kings respectively govern 9 rules. Mountains, fire, ice, earth, wind, light, darkness, time, and space. What lineage of dragon is this Utopian dragon derived from? Space Dragon King. In fact, this is not just a question from Emperor Tian. Even Yuena is not familiar with the dragon of Utopia, she only knows his ability to be omnipotent from the perspective of cultivation classification. Su Mu should be a type of spiritual and nightmares major, but unlike illusions, what he presents is something that truly exists. She is not very familiar with Utopian power. The closest is the power of creation held by the dragon god. Xiaogang. Su Mu looked at the burly dark golden-haired panda, his gaze inadvertently fixed on its chubby bare paws. Dark gold terror claw bear, these claws are definitely human. Xiaogang instinctively hid his claws behind him, staring at Su Mu with a fearful expression. The Demon King. Su Mu looked at the towering banyan tree in front of her, with an elderly face on its huge trunk and a pair of purple eyes similar to the reincarnation eyes. The Demon King. Belonging to a rare plant-type soul beast that also cultivates the spiritual realm. Its magic eye can also perform abilities such as mental impact, domain exploration, creating nightmares, and manipulating illusions. The Demon King's trembling response. Su Mu learned about the fierce beasts in Xinghu and eventually turned his gaze to the 200,000-year-old soul beasts crawling on the ground. Get up now. The crawling titan ape and the azure bull python quietly exchanged a glance on the ground. They saw that the fierce beasts at the scene had no objections, so they slowly stood up. How long has that little girl been away from here? Su Mu asked. As soon as these words were spoken, the titan ape and the sky blue bull python froze in vain. Does he mean, the Titan ape and the azure bull python exchanged a glance at each other. Emperor Tian and other ferocious beasts, unaware of this, cast puzzled gazes one after another. Yuena looked at these 200,000-year-old soul beasts. She knew that Sumu had the ability to dream, even though he had been stuck in the Utopian city before, he could use the means of consciousness to travel this world. Therefore, it is not surprising that he can know some external things in advance. It's been about 6 years, said the Titan ape hesitantly, carefully monitoring the mysterious adult's face. 6 years, Sumu whispered softly. After 100,000 years of soul beast selection and transformation, the initial age is 6 years old, which is the age range for awakening the martial soul. What's wrong? Yuena looked at Sumu, with a hint of doubt in her purple eyes. A 100,000-year-old soul beast that has undergone transformation and restoration, Sumu explained. Xiaowu is currently around 12 years old. Infer according to the timeline of the original work. Tang San was probably between leaving Notting Junior College and entering Shrek College for the first time. Upon hearing these words, the Titan ape and the azure bull python shattered their last bit of luck in their hearts. He really refers to little dance sister. Is that soul beast very special? Yuena was a bit skeptical. Some soul beasts belong to special beings that can suppress the luck of ethnic groups, such as auspicious beasts. The fierce beasts cast puzzled gazes one after another. 100,000 years of soul beast restoration. Although rare, it is not uncommon. She herself is not special, she can be considered a time anchor, Sumu said calmly. Yuena's eyes flashed with a hint of suspicion, but she didn't ask any further questions. Is there anything to pay attention to when going to the human world? Yuena asked. Although she learned a lot about the human world through Sumu in advance, she still needs to pay attention beforehand. She didn't quite understand when she first arrived. Funds are very important, Sumu said. I saw him turn around and look at the Titan ape and the sky blue bull python, with 3 or 2 golden soul coins floating in his palm, shining with gold. Call on soul beasts and collect scattered gold coins throughout the forest. This is exactly one of the core abilities he has mastered, Utopia, being able to create impressions and memories based on imagination. The Dragon of Imagination. The level of ability depends entirely on one's own imagination. He can reproduce, including but not limited to martial souls and soul skills. It can be various brilliant moves in anime. For example, Glittering Sky Lanterns, EX Swords of Oath, Soul-Slaying Swords, Dharma Heavenly Phenomenon and Earth, etc. Skills depend entirely on one's own imagination. Therefore, for him, the presence or absence of a soul ring is not significant. Yuena and Emperor Tian were completely confused. The Titan ape and the azure bull python looked at the appearance of the gold coin and felt somewhat familiar, as if it were the metal products carried by human soul masters. Summon the soul beasts and ask them to help collect some and send them over, Sumu instructed. Let me handle this matter, said the Demon King proactively. He majored in spirituality, and his spiritual network can cover most areas of the Star Forest, making it the most suitable for searching. Sumu nodded slightly when she saw him so preaching. The Demon King immediately activated the evil eye and captured the style of the golden soul coin in his mind. Subsequently, golden soul coins scattered throughout the forest came to his mind. He used his spiritual power to give instructions to the weak soul beasts, collect designated gold soul coins, and send them to the Star Lake. Meanwhile, outside the Douluo Hall, Qian Daolu, dressed in an embroidered gold-white robe, stood in front of the white jade fence, with golden hair hanging down. Seeing him with his hands behind his back and his eyes like eagles and falcons, he gazed towards the direction of the starry forest. This anomaly may cause changes in the weather on this continent. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Is considered an acquaintance. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 is considered an acquaintance starry forest, by the Star Lake. With the coordination and assistance of the Demon King, weak soul beasts gradually transported the scattered golden soul coins from various parts of the starry forest to the Star Lake. In just half a day, Sumu successfully collected tens of thousands of gold soul coins and a small amount of silver soul coins. He unified it into the system warehouse. In fact, the scattered golden soul coins in the Star Do forest are far more than that. It's just that Sumu felt that this was enough and asked the Demon King to stop collecting golden soul coins. "I'll leave for now, and I'll leave this to you," Yuena instructed Emperor Tian. Obedience. Emperor Tian bent down to respond, and the other fierce beast lords had no objection. Yuena nodded slightly. With Emperor Tian stationed, the starry forest cannot be chaotic. The Titan Ape and the Sky Blue Bull Python looked hesitant to speak. It is not difficult to tell from the conversation that these two adults are going to the human world, while Little Dance Sister happens to be experiencing it outside. The human world is full of crises, and Little Dance Sister is at risk of being accidentally exposed at any time. "What's up with you?" Sumu looked at these two big guys. "Ah." The Titan Ape kindly touched the back of its head. Yuena finished her conversation with Emperor Tian and walked towards Sumu. "I don't know how Xiaowu has been living in the outside world over the years. If it's convenient for the two adults, could you please help me with a few words?" Titan Monkey touched his head foolishly. At this moment, Tianqin Bull Python was also observing Sumu's face. Sending a message will inevitably lead to intersections. This is exactly what it wants. If Little Dance Sister encounters any danger in the outside world, these two adults, upon learning about it, will somewhat help out in the face of being both soul beasts. Their thoughts cannot be concealed from Sumu. "Is there a specific location for her?" Yuena asked. "No, after all, no postman dares to come here to deliver a letter," said the Titan Ape with a simple touch of his head. Sumu ignored it with indifference. 100,000 years of spicy rabbit head, can also be considered an old acquaintance, an acquaintance inside and outside the pot. If encountered outside, it's hard to say. "Thank you very much, sir." The Titan Ape prostrated and thanked him. From then on, Sumu left Star Lake with Yuena. Emperor Tian looked at Yuena's gradually receding figure and remained somewhat silent. The Red King quietly arrived at the side of Emperor Tian. "Is it really okay for the master to just follow him like this?" Biji, Xiongjuan, Wanyao Wang, and others all cast their eyes. They also have similar concerns. After all, the origin of that Mr. Sumu is unknown. The most puzzling thing is, why is he so familiar with the master? People who don't know think they've known each other for many years. Manage your own responsibilities. Red King, you are responsible for sitting in the starry forest, while the others return to their respective positions. Emperor Tian turned around indifferently and brushed past Red King. "Red King. Why me?" Biji, Xiongjuan, and the Demon King all withdrew and returned to their homeland to continue their slumber. "Seeing everyone leave separately, I have to stay behind." The Red King drooped his face. "It's too difficult." He immediately looked towards the Titan Ape and the Sky Blue Bull Python not far away. "You two. Come here for a moment." A few days later. Barak Kingdom, Soto City. Soto Auction. Sumu brought Yuena to the front of the auction. A luxurious building with Roman reliefs, with two large stone lions standing in front of the door, and welcoming maids dressed in red dresses standing on either side. "Let's go in and take a look." Sumu grabbed Yuena's wrist and entered the auction. "Hello sir, may I ask if you are participating in the auction or appraisal?" The receptionist smiled. "Appraisal," Sumu said calmly. "Okay too, please come inside." The etiquette lady smiled and raised her hand to invite. The front maid leads the way. Is there any difference between these two? Yuena asked through voice communication. The former needs to pay a deposit, Su Muchuan responded. Deposit. Yuena was a bit skeptical and couldn't understand these proprietary terms in the human world. At this time, Qin Ming was leading elite students from the Tiando Royal Academy to the Soto Do Soul Field. Teacher Qin Ming, is there really a team that can fight against us at the Soto Battle Soul Field? Yu Feng asked curiously. Their Imperial battle team, even at the Tiando Royal Academy, belongs to the elite existence. Can you really encounter opponents in this small city of Soto? This opponent is different from before and cannot be viewed with the same eyes as before. Their current soul power level may not be as good as yours, but their strength should not be underestimated, Qin Ming said with a smile. Those little guys are called little monsters by the Dean, obviously genius beyond common sense. He came out of there himself and understands the abilities of those elementary school students very well. I just don't know who will lead the team this time, and can I see Dean Frand and teacher Zhao Wuji? It's really nostalgic. Our overall strength is not bad either, but I am quite curious about the team that needs to be handled with caution. What can we do to stop the Tianheng leader? Yu Feng chattered. Yu Feng, martial soul. Wind chime bird, Yu Tianheng followed Qin Ming's side without saying a word. Blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex martial soul, level 39 strong attack series War Soul Zun. He possesses top-level martial souls, far exceeding the soul power level of his peers. Even in the Heavenly Do Royal Academy, he is an invincible presence. In today's era, Haotian's sect is unable to retreat from the sealed mountains, and it is unknown whether there are any talented disciples born within the sect. The Seven Treasures Glass sect is renowned for its auxiliary abilities. I heard that Ning Rongrong has good talent, but he can easily beat and cry for her. Even if it's a duel between two people. With Ling Ling's assistance, he could still beat Ning Rongrong to tears, not his opponent at all. In his eyes, the only opponent he could consider was the cousin of the family. Since the teacher has said everything, let's take it seriously, Du Guyen said casually. Next to her was a silent girl, dressed in a deep blue dress with a black veil on her face, always walking with her head down. At this moment, two figures brushed past them. We just passed by the Great Soul Battle, and there's an auction in front of us. I'll take you to take a look, said the young man with long black hair. The silver-haired girl nodded slightly. Yi Lingling's pupils slightly froze, and she suddenly turned back, her gaze fixed on the two mist figures. Lingling, what's wrong with you? Du Guyen next to her looked a bit strange. She followed her gaze and saw the back of the distant couple. Silver-white hair. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. The Road to Becoming a God. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. The Road to Becoming a God Soto Auction, Appraisal of Private Rooms. Su Mu sat down with Yuena and waited. The Cheongsam maid poured tea and water, presented some desserts, indicating that the appraiser would arrive soon. Not long after, the sound of knocking on the door came from outside the private room. A middle-aged man wearing a tailcoat and a small beard entered the private room. When he saw Yuena's true appearance, he was stunned for several seconds. Su Mu's cold gaze swept over, and the man in the tailcoat suddenly felt a chill in his spine. He immediately regained consciousness and realized that he had lost his composure just now. He quickly withdrew his gaze, lowered his head, and apologized. Sorry for keeping the two distinguished guests waiting. I am a senior appraiser from Soto City. Do you have any items that need auction appraisal? The appraiser wiped the sweat from his forehead and humbly lowered his head as he spoke. He has been working in an auction house for so many years, and the eyesight he has developed can easily judge the status of others at a glance. These two young people have extraordinary appearances, and although their clothing is not luxurious, they both exude a sense of arrogance that overlooks all living beings. it is difficult to cultivate that kind of arrogance without being pampered from a young age. These two must be young ladies from a certain noble family, and he cannot afford to offend them. Su Mu was not surprised to see this appraiser flattering and obsequious upon entering. Are you also an audience? Is the desire for survival so strong? Su Mu took out a ring set with sapphires from his sleeve and placed it in a silver tray. Advanced Na Jia. Cough, Storage Soul Guide, take a look. Su Mu coughed lightly and covered his mouth, as if nothing had happened. Storage Soul Guide. The appraiser was noticeably stunned when he heard these words. You should know that soul guides are all preserved from ancient times, and their quantity is already very rare. The manufacturing process has long been lost, and there are actually very few remaining soul guides. Especially the Storage Soul Guide, it is a rare item among soul guides. I'm not suspecting that your adult is playing tricks on him. This kind of thing is desirable. He is considering whether he can continue to survive in this auction if he really takes on this job. After all, storage soul guides are extremely precious items in the Soul Master family. Young Master, if you urgently need funds, you can consider using our auction house as collateral. The appraiser had not yet mastered the identification and brought the silver plate back with a smile on his face. Let you distinguish, don't talk nonsense. Su Mu picked up the tea, lifted the tea foam, and took a light sip, scanning him. Okay. The appraiser wiped the sweat from his forehead and quickly began to identify. He is now extremely complicated in his heart, speculating that this young master may have had a conflict with his family and eloped with a wealthy young lady. He is now short of money to spend, so he is selling his storage soul weapon Nima. If their family is traced down, they may become the first target of the attack themselves, but now the situation forces him to obey. The appraiser picked up the sapphire ring, tried to inject soul power into it, and then opened his mouth in shock. This. Hundreds of cubic meters of space. The appraiser trembled with a tremolo, his hands unable to resist. The maids on site were shocked and they heard these words. Hundreds of cubic meters of storage soul guides. This is simply unheard of. The appraiser carefully brought the sapphire back to the silver plate, as if afraid that it might be broken in his hand. He bent his body and couldn't help but swallow saliva. This adult. The value of this treasure is immeasurable, it's too small to determine, and we still need to invite the auction chairman to come forward. The appraiser looked at Su Mu's face cautiously with a trembling voice. Sure, Su Mu nodded strangely. The appraiser said he was going to invite the president to come over and run faster than a rabbit. Yuena's gaze showed a hint of suspicion. This is just a ring that can store things, why are they so impolite? However, she does have many aspects that she does not understand in the human world. If there are any questions, she will ask them privately. Su Mu put down his teacup with a strange expression on his face. System prompt. Manifesting sage in front of people. Achieving power of faith. 500 points faith store. Opened originally, the so-called collection of faith power is when they showcase dig deeper. Consolidating the power of faith is related to creating miracles. Using actions that secular people cannot imagine, understand, or subvert traditional cognition, shaping myths, may help him establish a preliminary belief. On their journey to becoming gods, they have more or less created many miracles and feats. For example, the sea god conquered the sea, making the surrounding areas of Sea God Island feel like spring all year round. Actually, it is influenced by the equatorial region. The frost goddess conquered the ice fields and bestowed upon the world daylight, polar night, and aurora. Actually, it's just a matter of planetary rotation and magnetic field. If you want to rely on the power of faith to become a god, perhaps you can also try these tricks. What deity will one shape in the future? How will myths be fabricated? How to operate specifically? Su Mu pondered deeply on these issues. He felt that the Utopian divine position was somewhat ethereal, indescribable and incomprehensible. Not long after, the auctioneer who had left earlier rushed to the private room with the chairman. "I am the district president of the Soto auction, two distinguished guests." "Hello." The president is a middle-aged man in yellow, with a slightly overweight figure and a peaceful smile on his face. Sumu nodded slightly and continued drinking tea. The president in yellow walked around to study the sapphire ring. After a follow-up investigation, although the president had anticipated it earlier, he was shocked when he caught a glimpse of the vast space expanding inside the sapphire, and couldn't help but take a cold breath. It broadens one's horizons. I didn't expect him to see hundreds of cubic meters of storage soul guides with his own eyes. "Sir, this item is valuable. If we were to set a price, the starting price for this auction would be at least 3 million gold soul coins. Let's move up." Huang Yi, the chairman, also felt embarrassed. In addition, in order to auction off this storage soul guide, it is necessary to prepare for promotion in advance. The Soto auction house cannot accommodate large transactions of this level. If it is to be auctioned, only the headquarters of the Heavenly Do Empire auction house may be able to meet the conditions. Chairman Huang Yi explained, wiping his sweat. Su Mu raised her eyebrows slightly. He just picked up a small broken item from the system warehouse and sold it for some gold soul coins and flowers. How could this broken thing be so troublesome? Do you still need to go to Tiendo City? The president in yellow is also a master of observing words and expressions. Sir, if you find it troublesome, the auction house is willing to assist you. If you are not confident, we can send someone to pick you up and take you to Tiendo City. Any expenses incurred during this period will be borne by our Soto auction branch. In addition, this is a prepaid deposit of 100,000 gold soul coins from Soto auction house. Chairman Huang Yi presented a black crystal card with both hands and spoke in a respectful tone. Su Mu raised his hand and took the black crystal card, nodding slightly. This person is quite sensible. As for going to Tiendo City, this matter needs to be considered. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. The Imperial Do team and the Shrek team. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. The Imperial Do team and the Shrek team Soto City. Hotel lobby. Your opponent this time is a Silver Soul battle team. Xiaogang held a stack of documents in his hand and looked around the Shrek 7 monsters sitting on the sofa. What? Ning Rongrong and others all showed surprised expressions. Tang San raised his hand with a suspicious expression on his face, and after obtaining the teacher's nod of consent. Teacher, the rules of the Battle Soul field should not be for teams of the same level to collide. Why did we encounter the Silver Battle Soul team? The other team members on the field also have the same doubts in their hearts. You should know that their Shrek squadron is currently still the Copper Soul squadron. Soto's Great Soul Battle has already helped Shrek's team advance to the Silver Soul Battle team in advance, Xiaogang said calmly. As for the reason. Xiaojiang's gaze turned to Frand in front of the window. Tang San and others turned their gaze to Dean Frand. Cough, cough. Frand clenched his fist and coughed weakly, explaining immediately. The problem is actually very simple. The strength of that team is too strong, and the crazy team you defeated earlier has no fighting power in front of them. There is no opponent on the Soto arena that can match that team, so they have to come to us. Speaking of the key point, Xiaogang said calmly. Cough, the Soto arena said that if the Shrek team can defeat them, they will receive a reward of 10,000 soul coins. In addition, in the arena, every member participating in the battle, regardless of victory or defeat, can receive a reward of 500 soul coins. Fran's eyes were shining with gold, and his body swayed like a paper man. 10,000 gold soul coins. Dai Mubai, Tang San and others' eyes lit up one after another. They are well aware that Shrek College's finances are tight and they are at risk of closing at any time. If we can receive the supplementary support of these 10,000 gold soul coins, it should be able to help the college maintain it for a period of time. What are you waiting for? Whatever team you care about, just do it. Ma Hongjun waved his fist and exclaimed excitedly. Xiao Wu was calculating the cost of the food next to her, wondering how long the 500 golden soul coins would last. Although Ning Rongrong doesn't like this gold soul coin and is not as good as her pocket money tail, winning this prize money is still a pleasant thing to do. Teacher, what is the strength of the Silver Soul Battle Team? Is there any corresponding information? Tang San asked in a serious tone. The opponent this time should not be simple, otherwise Soto's Soul Fighting Arena wouldn't have released such a large bonus. Yu Xiaogang looked at this disciple and felt a little more approval in his heart. He distributed the stack of materials in his hand. This is the specific information of their team. Shrek's 7 monsters and others have obtained corresponding information to check. Captain. Yu Tianheng Martial Soul. Blue Electric Tyrannosaurus Rex Soul Power. Level 39 Strong Attack Series Soul Master Soul Ring. 2 yellow and 1 purple Vice Captain. Dugu Yen Martial Soul. Blue Phosphorus Snake Soul Power. Level 38 Control Series Soul Master Soul Ring. 2 yellow and 1 purple Team Member. Yi Lingling Martial Soul. 9-hearted Begonia Soul Power. Level 35 Auxiliary Weapon Martial Soul Soul Ring. 2 yellow and 1 purple Team Members. Graphite, Stone Mill Martial Soul. Xuanwu Turtle Team Member. Yufeng Martial Soul. Wind Chime Bird Team Member. Oslo Martial Soul. Ghost Leopard, damn it, their captain is at level 39 and the deputy team is at level 38. Ma Hongjun looked at the information in his hand and jumped up in fear. You should know that even Dai, the leader with the highest soul power among them, is currently only at level 38. Tactically versatile, the third in command of a team, currently only has 32 levels of soul power. Xiao Wu and Oscar both recently broke through the third ring, with soul power at level 31. I, Zhu Qing, and Rongrong have not yet broken through the third ring Soul Lord. He suddenly felt that his foundation, as a level 28 Evil Fire Phoenix, was a bit weak. The team members present also looked at each other in confusion when they saw the information. All members of the 3 rings Soul Lord, the captain and deputy team, are approaching the cultivation level of the 4th ring road. The other team members are all level 35 and above. In terms of team configuration, strong attack, control, defense, agile attack, assistance, everything is complete, and the overall strength is very strong. You need to pay extra attention to Captain Yu Tianheng and Deputy Captain De Guyen. Yu Xiaogang looked at them with a calm gaze. As the top existence in the beast martial soul, the blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex has extremely strong explosive power and is known as the strongest attacking beast martial soul. As for the Soul Master who possesses the blue phosphorus snake martial soul, they're so coincidental. Ning Rongrong muttered softly, his gaze fixed on the auxiliary Soul Master. Rongrong, do you know them? Asked the little dance next to her in confusion. Yu Xiaogang stopped talking and looked at Ning Rongrong. Yu Tianheng, the legitimate genius of the blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex family, is one of the top 3 sections. Whenever there is a big gathering, he always encounters it. Ning Rongrong frowned, obviously thinking of some unpleasant little friction. As for De Guyen, her grandfather is a notorious Douluo, Ning Rongrong said calmly, swaying his short legs. Title Douluo. Shrek's 7 strange people were all shocked. Seeing everyone so surprised, Ning Rongrong shrugged his shoulders. We are all at the top of society, with high-level individuals meeting and interacting with each other. Even if younger generations are not close, they still understand each other's specific situations. Actually, what I am most concerned about is the auxiliary soul master who possesses the 9-hearted begonia martial soul. Ning Rongrong's gaze fell on the data sheet on the table, with a portrait of a beautiful girl wrapped in a black veil. At the same time. Luxury hotel lobby. The Imperial Do Squadron has also received information forms from the Shrek Squadron. Dugu Yen couldn't help but chuckle when he saw this information. Blue Silver Grass Marshal Soul dares to go through the control system. What can his grass be tied to? Is it a rabbit? Hey, their team really has a rabbit. Let me see, there's actually someone arrogantly naming their Marshal Soul Phoenix. Oh, there's also Evil Fire in front, isn't it a grass chicken? The Graphite brothers burst into laughter. Little cats, rabbits, grass chickens, sausages, with so many martial souls, are they rushing to open a zoo? Yu Feng smiled. Qin Ming, who led the team, was quite helpless. Neglecting opponents is a big taboo. He had always wanted to find a team to sharpen their spirit, but he never succeeded. He hopes that this time the younger students can create a miracle, 7 treasure glass pagoda, Ning Rongrong. Yu Tianheng looked at this list, obviously also somewhat surprised. That little witch. How could she appear in an unknown battle team? Is it the 7 treasures glass sect behind this soul master team? Yi Lingling was also staring at Ning Rongrong's 7 treasures glass pagoda, silently cheering herself on. When she looked up, she happened to meet the gaze of Dugu Yen. We teamed up to beat and cry at her this time, Dugu Yen chuckled lightly. Yi Lingling nodded lightly. She wants to prove to the world that the 9 Hearts Begonia Martial Soul is the strongest auxiliary martial soul. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Venue Duel. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Venue Duel Soto's Great Battle Soul Field. The Shrek Squadron and the Imperial Do Squadron each entered the arena, looking at each other from a distance on the main arena. Qin Ming, as the instructor of the Imperial Do Squad, walked towards the VIP seat in the front row of the audience. Looking at the crowded audience, a faint smile appeared on his face. It is obvious that the Soto Arena has done a lot of publicity in this regard. Qin Ming found a vacant seat in the front row and noticed a young couple sitting in a few separate seats next to him. The girl sitting next to her has sparkling silver hair and a beautiful side face. Next to her sits a young man in a black robe with scattered black hair. It seems that they are young masters from a certain Soul Master family who came to fight against the Silver Soul battle team. The young man in black noticed him and glanced at him. Qin Ming politely smiled and nodded. The young man in black nodded slightly. Qin Ming averted his gaze and scanned the audience seat across from him. Soon he saw Dean Fran's position from the crowd, with a gentle smile on his face. Fran, who was sitting in the opposite seat, noticed his gaze and looked up. Their eyes met, only nodding slightly. Yu Xiaojiang's gaze was now fixed on the 2 teams on the main arena. To be precise, it's staring at Yu Tianheng. A hint of desolation and vicissitudes flashed in his eyes. VIP audience seat. Yuena was staring at the pretty girl on the main arena, braided with snakes and scorpions and wearing a pink dress. So coincidental. Yuena was also somewhat surprised in her heart. On the field. Accompanied by the floating commentary, the little sister reported the specific intelligence of the 2 teams and announced that they could activate the martial soul. Dai Mubai let out a tiger roar, and his muscles instantly swelled. His palms resembled tiger claws, and his sharp claws popped out, emphasizing a cool and crazy pull. Yu Tianheng's eyebrows suddenly lit up with a blue light, his body thundered violently, his right arm sleeve burst, and his arm became extremely thick, covered in blue-purple scales, flashing with lightning currents. The dragon aura suppressed the entire scene. Tang San reached out his palm and flipped it over, and blue-silver grass emerged one after another. A gloomy blue phosphorus venomous snake appeared behind Dugu Yen, with orange erect pupils staring at her opponent and swallowing snake letters. The original work is about legs turning into snake tails. In the palm of Ning Rongrong's hand, 7 precious gems of light bloomed, and a glass pagoda appeared. The black gauze girl clasped her hands, lowered her head in prayer, and held a blooming white-purple begonia flower in her palm. Accompanied by the appearance of martial souls, yellow, and purple soul rings appeared under their feet. In an instant, the light of the soul ring shone brilliantly. All staff have the best soul ring configuration. The live audience shouted loudly and the crowd was boiling, igniting the entire audience. In the audience, Yuena stared at the palm of Qianrenxue's hand, and behind her appeared a thunderous real dragon. True dragon. It seems to be a branch of the 9 dragon kings lineage, with the highest ranking being the bright holy dragon. Su Mu looked down at the girl with a black veil on her face on the field, holding a white-purple begonia flower in her hand, and 3 soul rings, 2 yellow and 1 purple, appeared under her feet. 9-hearted begonia yingling her martial soul is rare and rare. Perhaps it is because only 2 owners will appear at the same time, with a relatively low probability of occurrence. Even if they are not like the 7 treasures glass sect, unable to break through the martial soul shackles of the 8 rings, there is still someone who has achieved the title Douluo through this martial soul cultivation. Which team do you think can win? Su Mu looked down at the 2 opposing teams below and chuckled lightly. Qin Ming beside him couldn't help but perk up his ears to listen. I don't think there's much suspense. Although it's a pecking of vegetables and chickens, overall, this team is still stronger. Yuena pointed to the team on Qianrenxue's side. Qin Ming perked up his ears beside him, feeling that the girl's evaluation was very relevant. Although he hoped that the younger students at Shrek College could give him a surprise, let Tianheng and the others suffer some losses, and avoid being arrogant, but that was only the case. His heart still leans towards the Imperial Do squad, after all, it is the cub he brought out alone. For this match, he believes that the Imperial Do team can win, but it won't be too easy. Su Mu smiled and remained silent. What do you think? Yuena looked up at his profile and saw that he seemed to have a different opinion. Qin Mingmu stared at the movements of the field without straying his eyes, and his ears had quietly perked up to eavesdrop. From the perspective of the game, the 2 sides with the highest cultivation will inevitably collide, and they can lead each other in a short period of time. The outcome will not be discussed for now, Su Mu said calmly. On the field, the 7 treasures glass pagoda in Ning Rongrong's palm emits a stream of light. Increase the team's growth rate. Yi Lingling's palm is filled with petals of begonia scattered in the wind. The whole team is cured. The team captain with the highest cultivation from both sides collided head-on, sparking a fierce battle between dragons and tigers. On the control side, the soul ring effect of the blue-silver grass soul master is relatively weak, but he knows how to move, so holding on to it is not a problem, Su Mu said calmly. On the field, Tang San used Tang Sek's unique skills such as Ghost Hidden and Misty to try to contain Du Guyan as much as possible. The martial soul behind Du Guyan immediately opened its bloody mouth and spat out a dark green mist, enveloping the entire arena. The poisonous mist covering the entire field, it seems that there is no Wind Soul Master in the Shrek team. Yuena looked at Yufeng, who had temporarily taken off with the help of the abilities bestowed by the martial soul. Poisonous mist. In the low realm of vegetable chicken pecking each other, although it is very insidious, the effect is really good. Not only can it affect the opponent's ability to play, but the longer it is delayed, the greater the chance of winning. Qin Ming is also curious about how this person will analyze next. Du Guyan's martial soul toxin is not insignificant, and it not only affects the performance of his strength, but also needs to be detoxified as soon as possible, otherwise it will cause sequelae. Su Mu smiled lightly and calmly. The soul skill effects of the first 3 rings are relatively weak and can be completely cracked with the help of external objects. On the field, Tang San seemed to follow the command and raised his hand to take out Realgar wine from the bright moon night of the 24 bridges at his waist, throwing it into mid-air and calling out, "Fatty." The first soul ring on Ma Hongjuan's body suddenly lit up, and a thread of fire erupted from the mouth of the evil fire phoenix behind him, piercing through the Realgar wine bottle and exploding in mid-air. The Realgar liquor immediately burned and turned into a sea of fire, burning the dark green toxic mist completely, and the alcohol vapor evaporated and dispersed. Upon seeing this scene, Qin Ming clenched his grip on the armrest in shock, feeling somewhat shocked. Gu Yuna's eyes flickered, obviously a little surprised. A smile appeared on Fran's face. Yu Xiaogang's expression was solemn, and he did not relax due to this small victory. No one knows the blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex soul better than him. It's completely crushing a terrifying existence at the same level. If it weren't for the huge gap between the two sides, he wouldn't have allowed the third party to use the killing move of 8 spider spears. The situation on the field is constantly changing. Zhu Zhuqin collided head-on with the ghost leopard Oslo, naturally losing. Ma Hongjun struggled with Yufeng and was also at a disadvantage. The Graphite and Stone Grinding brothers used their soul skills to summon the turtle shell flying shield and break through the air to intercept Tang San. Oscar is making flying mushroom sausages, preparing for a backhand. End of this chapter. Can't I afford to play Chapter 7? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Can't I afford to play Chapter 7? On the Soto Battle's Soul Field. The Shrek team divided the battlefield, surrounded Yuxianheng, and rose up in groups to attack. Yu Tianheng directly used the third soul skill, Thunder Fury, and his body was shrouded in blue-purple electric currents, his breath rising step by step, and his eyes twitching with electric arcs. He naturally saw that this was a trap. In the face of absolute violence, conspiracies and schemes. Ha! Crawl for me. Yu Tianheng raised his hand and smashed his dragon claw at Dai Mubai, sending him flying out and being pulled back by the blue-silver grass in mid-air. Xiao Wu leaned close to her side and kicked Yu Tianheng's waist and sacrum with a flying kick. Yu Tianheng remained motionless, his cold gaze sweeping over him. Xiao Wu's heart feels cold. Yu Tianheng twisted his body and raised his hand, roaring with dragon claws, patting towards Xiao Wu. At the critical moment, Xiao Wu immediately used her strength to jump back, and the blue-silver grass around her waist pulled her back, thus avoiding the disaster. Yuxianheng is like a fierce tiger entering a flock of sheep, blocking the spring and killing indiscriminately. The audience was in an uproar. Designed to divide the battlefield, but failed to achieve a suppressive effect, and other members of the Imperial Do team prepared to break through. Many viewers sighed and shook their heads. It seems that the Shrek team is going to lose. However, this is also an unavoidable matter. After all, the gap between the two sides is really too big. It seems that he deliberately set himself up with the intention of disintegrating from within, obviously having strong confidence in his own strength. Gu Yuna watched as Yu Tianheng below made a reckless killing, unstoppable. Qin Ming was also somewhat helpless. When can Tianheng's personality converge? It's easy to be defeated by a single click. It's different. They have a high fault tolerance rate on their side, and even if they suffer heavy damage upon entry, they can quickly increase their health with the help of healing soul masters. Furthermore, true dragon martial souls, especially those with irritable thunder attributes, should naturally follow their inner selves. The strong attack system cultivates invincibility beliefs and emphasizes breaking through 10,000 methods with one force. If they go against their inner selves and use intricate calculations, they will lose the heart to become strong. Even if they encounter top-notch experts of the same level, they will not have that invincibility belief, Su Mu said calmly. Gu Yuna nodded slightly. Indeed, there is no need to carefully calculate what can be solved with just one slap. Qin Ming next to him blushed and his ears turned red. Okay. He was indeed negligent in this regard. Strategy and control should be handed over to the control-type Soul Master, while the strong attack type should be used as the sharpest spear. Qianrenxue possesses the so-called world's #1 beast martial soul, and indeed should not suppress his arrogance. Since the Shrek team dares to lure him over, they are planning to kill him. There may be hidden behind this, so just keep looking. Su Mu smiled calmly. Do they have any backup? Qin Ming had some doubts in his mind, and his gaze turned to the field. On the field, Dai Mubai and Zhu Zhuqing embraced each other, their martial souls blending together. Accompanied by the bright light, their bodies disappeared in the moment of fusion. Accompanied by a loud tiger roar, Yuxianheng's pupils suddenly contracted. A huge white tiger monster appeared in front of him out of thin air, with white hair and black stripes, and its entire body was unreal, faintly visible. At this moment, the purple tiger eyes were coldly looking down at him. Martial Soul Fusion Technique. How could one encounter a Soul Master with martial soul fusion skills in a small place like Soto City? Yuxianheng was also surprised. The Imperial Do team members who rushed to support from the rear were all confused. The audience was filled with shocking cheers. Surprisingly, it's a martial soul fusion technique. Qin Ming, who was in the VIP seat, couldn't help but be a bit stunned when he saw this scene and looked at Dean Frand in astonishment. Is this the talent of the current Shrek students? Frand saw Qin Ming's surprised expression and couldn't help but raise the corner of his mouth. To be honest, the potential of this year's Shrek students is indeed far greater than before. Mu Bai and Zhu Qing's soul fusion skill Oscar with innate soul power level 10, special in food, Ning Rongrong, who possesses the martial soul of the Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda Ma Hongjun, who possesses the Phoenix martial soul Tang San, who appears to have the worst martial soul quality, possesses extremely strong individual combat abilities, is proficient in various tactics, controls the overall situation, and has recently obtained killer weapons such as external soul bones. In his eyes, the current Shrek team is simply the pinnacle. Even if their current strength is not as strong as the Imperial Do team, they will definitely be able to compete with them in the future. On the field, the underworld white tiger looked down at Yu Tianheng and immediately attacked him with its fierce tiger claws. Yu Tianheng's arm erupted in a thunderous roar, facing him head-on, however, the gap between the two sides is indeed too large. Even if Yu Tianheng's arm was in a dragon-like state, under the fierce attack of the netherworld white tiger, the forearm bone broke. Yu Tianheng's face turned pale. The original advantage suddenly showed signs of defeat. Ostro Ghost Leopard speed sidewalks, the wind in mid-air waved its wings and wielded its blades to strike the ground. The Graphite and Stone Grinding brothers were separated by turtle shells flying horizontally, blocking the attack of the netherworld white tiger and welcoming and rescuing Captain Yu Tianheng. Dugu Yen opened his mouth and exhaled a dark green toxic mist that enveloped the arena. The members of the Imperial Do team joined forces with Yu Tianheng one after another. Tang San led everyone to avoid his sharpness, while each hand swallowed Oscar's prepared second soul skill. Detoxifying sausage. The 9-heart crabapple in Yi Lingling's palm is scattered. The white-purple petals sank into Yu Tianheng's body, and the broken arm joints snapped and quickly returned to their peak state. His body's qi and blood quickly returned to their peak state. The consumption of other members of the Huangdo team, healing of all members, and recovery of their state. When the Shrek team saw this scene, their faces became extremely ugly. How can they fight when their healing ability is restored? The audience present were also confused. Love was just a warm-up just now. The strength of this Imperial battle team is also too terrifying, isn't it? Qin Ming breathed a sigh of relief. The Shrek squadron's martial soul fusion technique is indeed very strong, but at this time they are only low-level soul masters, unable to maintain it for too long, and unable to fully unleash the true power of martial soul fusion techniques. Ling Ling is the ace of the Imperial battle team. Under the cover of her soul skills, she can heal and restore her combat power in a timely manner regardless of how many injuries she has suffered. As long as she doesn't fall, the entire team won't lose. Fran couldn't help but frown when he saw this scene. Xiaogang was not surprised at all, his gaze fixed on the field as usual. He was well aware that the Shrek team had only a 30% chance of winning in this showdown. These 30% still depend on the martial soul fusion skills of Dai Mubai and Zhu Zhuqing, as well as the trump cards of his disciple Tang San. The key to breaking the game lies in the opponent's auxiliary soul master. On the field, Tang San's gaze was fixed on the black-veiled girl holding white and purple begonia flowers across from him. You must first eliminate the opponent's auxiliary soul master, otherwise any fight will be in vain. The Huangdo team is well aware that the opponent will inevitably launch an attack against Ling Ling in the future. Protect Ling Ling well, Du Guyan said coldly. The graphite and stone grinding brothers are guarding by Yi Lingling's side. Xiaowu takes a side turn, preparing to find an opportunity to cut the other person for assistance. However, the graphite and stone grinding brothers were not used to it at all. They went up and hit Xiaowu directly with a turtle shell flying shield, and the whole person flew out. Xiaowu. Tang San broke through his defense in an instant, and his whole body became eerie and terrifying. Meatballs stirred up behind him, and sharp spider spears pierced through his collar. Mutated martial soul. Du Guyan's face flashed with a hint of solemnity. In the audience, Su Mu couldn't help but raise her forehead when she saw this scene. The real TM is just a rampage trigger, right? End of this chapter. In chapter 8, he only needs to click on encouragement. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In chapter 8, he only needs to click on encouragement on the field. Yu Tianheng and the Netherworld White Tiger struggled to resist. Xiaowu tried to cut off the opponent's side to assist her, but as a result, she flew towards her with a turtle shell and directly knocked her into the air, falling from mid-air and rolling several times on the field. Xiaowu. Tang San immediately jumped forward, holding the injured Xiaowu and shouting. Yu Tianheng collided head-on with the White Tiger of the Underworld, losing both sides. The White Tiger of the Underworld dissipated, and Dai Mubai and Zhu Zhuqing's soul power exhausted and fell, weak and completely losing their combat ability. Yu Tianheng's strength was exhausted, and he fell to the ground in response, panting heavily. Tang San gritted his teeth tightly, and his entire body suddenly became eerie and terrifying. 8 bulges bulged behind him, and the sharp 8 spider spears tore through his collar, revealing his true appearance with a cold light. Upon seeing this, Du Guyan's face immediately froze. Mutated martial soul. Be careful, everyone. Tang San slowly put down the little dance in his arms and looked at the 3 people who had fallen not far away with a corner of his eye. He looked back with a sinister gaze and suddenly locked onto the graphite and stone grinding brothers who had just taken action. The turtle shell flying shield returned to the hands of the 2 brothers of the Shi family, facing Tang San's sinister gaze. Suddenly, there was a feeling of being targeted by a vicious dog, and his heart was thumping. I saw the rhythm of the 8 spider spears interweaving and confusing behind Tang San, and his entire body was like a phantom approaching rapidly. Du Guyan immediately appeared to obstruct and opened his mouth, spraying out a poisonous mist. However, before it could spread, it had already been absorbed by the 8 spider spears behind Tang San. Before she could react, Tang San had already overcome obstacles. The 8 spider spear avoided the turtle shell protection and held onto the graphite neck with one hand. The sharp 8 spider spear blocked the vital point of Yi Lingling's throat, with a crimson cold gleam in his eyes. Yi Lingling was completely frightened and stood in place for a moment, feeling helpless. Du Guyan, Ghost Leopard Oslo, and Wind Chime Bird, who were preparing for rescue, all stopped their movements and dared not move recklessly. The audience on site was also shocked. What happened? The deputy captain of the Shrek squadron was able to kill members of the Imperial Do squadron and instantly grasp the opponent's auxiliary soul master. This battle is turning around faster than a comeback. Qin Ming was also a bit stunned. What means is this? Is it over like this? Yuena asked. Not necessarily, he just lacks some encouragement, Su Mu smiled. On the field. Yu Tianheng's heart beat like a war drum, and a powerful blue and purple thunder burst out on his body, instantly attracting the attention of everyone present. Tang San was startled by the thunder behind him, and suddenly looked back, his pupils suddenly froze. A hazy figure stood in the midst of the burst of thunder, with black hair spreading and blue-purple scales covering the surface of the body. The deep blue eyes danced with lightning arcs, emitting a destructive aura all over. Yushinheng. If Tang San at this moment is like a Shura demon killed in hell. So at this moment, Yu Tianheng is simply the god of judgment sitting in the clouds. That figure disappeared instantly. Tang San's purple extreme demon eyes were unable to see the specific figure clearly, and the figure filled with the aura of destruction was already approaching. Tang San instinctively gathered the 8 spider spear and folded it to protect himself. The dragon claw containing the power of thunder fell with a loud bang, and the thunder suddenly erupted when it found its release point. Click. Tang San's pupils suddenly froze. The crystal-like 8 spider spears appeared with numerous cracks, shattering in the reflection of thunder. The dragon claws wrapped in thunder passed through the broken spider spears, gripping Tang San's neck and lifting it up. A lowly thing like an ant, also diluting to compete with a real dragon. Yu Tianheng revealed his figure, and Long Tong stared at Tang San, who was struggling to the death. Scarlet blood flowed from his neck. Stop it. We'll give up. Frand quickly descended from the VIP seat with owl wings spread out from behind. Qin Ming also regained his senses at this moment and quickly descended. Tianheng, stop it. Yu Tianheng released his palm, and Tang San fell to the ground with a severe cough. A flash of madness flashed in his eyes, and he raised his hand to touch the 24 bridges under the bright moon, and instantly took out the dragon beard needle. Yu Tianheng's eyes flashed with a cold light, and he lifted his foot and suddenly trampled on it. Tang San's blood splattered on the spot, his body bent into a shrimp, and he fainted on the spot. You. Frand was furious and immediately wanted to take action. Tianheng, you are here. Qin Ming pointed his mouth, but his body honestly stood in front of Yu Tianheng. Yu Tianheng stared coldly at Frand. Ling Ling, please help him with treatment first, Qin Ming quickly called out. He didn't expect that he had planned to have a sparring with Shrek Academy, but it turned out to be like this. The third soul ring on Yi Lingling's body suddenly lit up, and the 9 hearts begonia scattered. The white-purple petals were like goose feathers falling into the water, sinking into Yu Tianheng's body one after another. Tang San, lying on the ground, did not even drop a single petal. Qin Ming was also stunned. He just remembered that the other party had threatened Ling Ling's life just now. Now that the situation is turning around, how could Ling Ling's temperament be willing to take action to save her? Brother. Xiao Wu disregarded the injury and rushed towards Tang San with a twisted face, covering his abdominal injury. Yu Xiaogang arrived late from the audience and frowned as he looked at Tang San. Oscar, come here quickly. Oscar hurriedly arrived, muttering, I have a big sausage with me, and his palm really transformed into a big sausage and stuffed it into Tang San's mouth. Yu Tianheng's gaze fixed on the weathered Yu Xiaogang, and when he saw his face clearly, his expression suddenly froze. Second uncle. What? Qin Ming, the leader of the team, was confused. The members of the Imperial Do squadron and the Shrek squadron all had a dull expression on their faces. Yu Xiaogang frowned at him tightly, nodded slightly, and then lowered his head to take care of Tang San's injuries. Frand, who had already known the truth on sight, couldn't help but sigh at this moment. The captain of this Imperial battle team is Xiaojiang's biological nephew, and Xiao San is Xiaogang's proud disciple. This is also the fundamental reason why he didn't act angrily just now. Dean Frand, disciple Qin Ming apologizes to you. I have an inescapable responsibility for the injury of this elementary school student. Qin Ming bowed to Frand and apologized. Disciple, Dean. The people of Shrek's team were stunned. Du Guyen and Yu Tianheng were lost in thought. Frand sighed helplessly. That's right, I'm the student who came out of Shrek College, Qin Ming said with a bitter expression on his face. Originally, I just wanted to organize a friendly match, but I didn't expect things to turn out like this, Qin Ming explained with a bitter smile. This Ning Rongrong covered his mouth in shock. So, wasn't it just our own person hitting our own person just now? Qin Ming seemed to think of something and turned his head to look at the VIP audience. The young couple who were originally sitting next to him have long disappeared as the showdown begins. The situation continues to move in the direction set by the opponent, as if a script is being rehearsed throughout the entire process. As he said that the Imperial Do team needed some encouragement, Tianheng then faked the corpse and exploded. I can still explain it with strategic planning in the front, but in the future at the same time. Outside the Soto Battle Soul Arena, Su Mu and Gu Yuena walked out shoulder to shoulder. This duel is really interesting. I'll take you to eat delicious food, Su Mu smiled happily. Gu Yuena nodded slightly. End of this chapter. Chapter 9 Yu Xiaogang. Mutation of Martial Souls. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Yu Xiaogang. Mutation of Martial Souls. Soto City, a high-end restaurant. Su Mu and Gu Yuena sat opposite each other, with drinks and tall glasses placed before the meal, and a plate filled with delicious meat. The meaning of the auction house is to send the storage soul guide to Tiendo City for promotional auction and invite us to come together. All expenses incurred during this period will be borne by the Soto auction house. Su Mu used a knife and fork to help her cut the steak on the plate, while introducing. The distance from Soto City to Tiendo City is not too far, and for us, traveling back and forth within a day is not a problem. If you choose to travel by carriage, it will take about 20 days to arrive, passing through several large cities during this period. Of course, we don't need to follow the escort teams of those auction houses. We can plan our own route and do whatever we want, Su Mu smiled and introduced. You can arrange it. Gu Yuena held the silver fork and handed a cut steak to her mouth, chewing it slowly. Su Mu nodded. Before leaving Soto City, we need to meet that little girl first, which can be considered as fulfilling the instructions of the gorilla. Okay. Gu Yuena nodded slightly, and a pink-clad girl with long scorpion braids automatically came to mind. She is still unable to control her breath well, and it is inevitable that she will encounter some dangers in the outside world. Since I happen to meet her, it doesn't matter if I help her. Gu Yuena noticed that the other party was staring at her and reached out to her. She showed a hint of doubt. Su Mu took out a piece of paper and smiled as he helped her wipe away the oil stains from the corners of her mouth. At the same time, on the other end of Soto City, Tang San woke up from a serious injury and coma to find himself on a hotel bed surrounded by many people. Third, are you finally awake? Oscar. Brother. Little dance. Xiao San. Frand. Qin Ming breathed a sigh of relief when he saw this scene. If this junior student falls into the hands of Tianheng, he, as the team leader, will inevitably be responsible. How will he face Dean Frand and the mentors of Shrek College in the future? Tang San opened his eyes and saw the master waiting by the bed with a haggard face. Teacher. Tang San just wanted to get up and immediately pulled his chest into a torn wound, his face pale and twisted. Yu Xiaogang lightly pressed his shoulder, letting him lie back and rest. Teacher, I've lost. Tang San's face turned pale, his eyes lowered, and he felt a little guilty. It's not your fault, you've done a great job already, Yu Xiaogang comforted. But we lost, Tang San stubbornly said. Losing is not shameful, the important thing is to maintain a positive attitude and strive to overcome difficulties, Xiaogang comforted. In this showdown, the cultivation and age of both sides are not equal, so you don't need to blame yourself. Tang San secretly clenched his fist and finally let out a soft, You take a good rest first, Xiaogang patted his shoulder and called Qin Ming to leave. Brother, Xiao Wu and others immediately gathered around. Before Qin Ming left, he looked back at Tang San on the bed with an eye disease and followed Xiaogang out of the room. Outside the hotel, on the street, Yu Tianheng stopped here and waited. When he saw Xiaogang and Qin Ming's mentor appear, he immediately stepped forward to welcome them. Uncle Heir. Tianheng has grown up. Xiaogang looked at him, with a hint of nostalgia on his face, as well as some emotion. Let's chat somewhere else. Yu Tianheng nodded heavily. Inside the private room. Uncle Heir, my grandfather has been thinking about you in his heart. Just as Yu Tianheng spoke, he was stopped by Xiaogang's hand. Let bygones be bygones, I'm doing pretty well now. Xiaogang shook his head slightly and looked at Yu Tianheng in a calm tone. Yu Tianheng's words suddenly became stuck in his throat. I came here to inquire about the situation at that time, said Xiaogang. At that time, on the field, Tianheng had already combined his skills with the ghost white tiger and collapsed to the ground. Why did he fall into a state of rampage in the future, smashing the external soul bone 8 spider spears with one punch, and instantly killing the mistress in a special state? This matter does not conform to common sense. He confirmed with Qin Ming that the 9-hearted begonia soul master only provided a healing effect, without any means to make people go berserk or enhance their strength. Moreover, based on the experience, Tianheng did not experience any sequelae after his rampage. Even though he tried to break his mind and analyze these things from various angles, he still couldn't come up with an answer, therefore, he had to come and ask the parties involved. I originally wanted to reminisce with my second uncle whom I hadn't seen for many years, but when the other party came up, they mentioned the duel, which made Yu Tianheng's face slightly stiff. Is Tang San a disciple of Uncle Heir? The only biological disciple, Xiaogang said in a deep voice. Although blue-silver grass is regarded as a useless martial soul by the public, he has proven through his own efforts that there are no useless martial souls, only useless soul masters. Qin Ming beside him felt a bit embarrassed and wiped away his sweat. He vaguely remembered that the theoretical master of the soul world seemed to have not yet broken through the 3 rings. What you said proves that your personally transmitted disciple is not a waste, but I understand. Yu Tianheng's eyes were slightly gloomy. Actually, on the field at that time, I didn't know exactly what happened. I just saw that guy threatening Ling Ling's life, and my heart was extremely angry, hoping to stop all of this. At that time, I vaguely heard the sound of dragons singing in all directions, covering the sky and earth, all in unison, calling out to me. Yu Tianheng furrowed his brows, sinking into deep memories, feeling the goosebumps all over his body, making his soul tremble and indescribable. Subsequently, I felt a force activate within me, and my mind was empty at that time, thinking only of using all means to strike and destroy the enemy. Dragon chant. Xiaogang thought he had grasped a key point. Are you saying that the power comes from within you, within yourself, and there has been no backlash afterwards? Yu Tianheng nodded and nodded. At that time, that state was very wonderful. I feel like the Master of Thunder, with all my actions flowing smoothly and every bit of power being finely controlled. The direction of one's mind is invincible. That power should come from the hidden potential of your martial soul, which was activated under special circumstances. Xiaogang tried to explain this phenomenon. Tianheng, your martial soul may be subtly mutating. Mutation of martial soul. Yu Tianheng's face was somewhat solemn. From the performance, it should be a benign mutation, Xiaogang said in a deep voice with one hand behind him, his weathered gaze fixed on him. Qin Ming raised his eyebrows slightly. He felt that this explanation was a bit far-fetched. Not everything should be explained by martial soul mutation. In addition, the mysterious young couple reappeared in his mind. At that time, every step of the situation on the field was anticipated by him. As the silver-haired girl asked, "Is it over like this?" "Not necessarily, he just needs some encouragement," said the young man in black calmly. Subsequently, Qianrenxue fell into a rampage, and the situation instantly turned around. All of this may be related to that mysterious couple. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Su Mu's Thousand-Layer Routine. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Su Mu's Thousand-Layer Routine Utopian King City. Xiaowu woke up from a dream and found herself in a mysterious palace in the royal city. She suddenly looked up and saw two mysterious figures sitting above the hall. Led by him was a handsome young man in a black robe, with long black hair hanging down and a cool gaze. At this moment, he looked down at himself from a high position. Sitting beside him was a stunning silver-haired girl with purple crystal eyes and skin as smooth as cream. When she arrived, a slight smile appeared on her face. Xiaowu was extremely vigilant in her heart. Where is this? Why did I suddenly appear here when I was clearly in the hotel before? Is it a dream? No, how could I be so clear-headed in my dream? She instinctively touched her elbow and her pupils suddenly froze. Empty. The sleeve arrow is missing. Xiaowu's face turned a bit ugly. It is obvious that this is a human-dominated illusion. Did you say that your identity as a soul beast was exposed? Are these two here to hunt down their own title Douluo? She suppressed the nervousness in her heart and her eyes were extremely alert. Don't be nervous, we have no ill intentions, Yuena chuckled lightly. I came to see you this time mainly on behalf of someone. The great Titan ape in Xinghu wants to know your situation outside and whether you have encountered any difficulties. Ming. Xiaowu's face showed a surprised expression. She never expected that these two mysterious people would know about Xinghu and Ming. Two seniors. Xiaowu didn't know how to address them for a moment. Why did Ming ask them to come? Are they also soul beasts undergoing transformation and restoration? Xiaowu was filled with doubts about this. Here, I want to give you two pieces of advice, whether you listen or not. Su Mu gazed at Xiaowu below. Xiaowu was a bit stunned. Firstly, if you continue to stay with them, it will harm yourself, Su Mu said indifferently. Xiaowu was stunned and at a loss. She knew that the other party's words were not sensational, and any contact with the title Douluo would expose her. At that time, she will surely face pursuit, and no one can help her. Secondly, your identity was actually exposed a long time ago, Su Mu said indifferently. What? Upon hearing these words, Xiaowu felt like a bolt from the blue, completely shocked and speechless, staring blankly at Su Mu in the hall. Upon hearing these words, Yuena's eyes flashed with a hint of suspicion. Has her identity been exposed long ago? Why didn't the other party take action against her? Who can resist the temptation of 100,000-year soul rings and soul bones? Su Mu did not explain much, this is a definite fact. If she continues to stay at Shrek Academy, by Tang San's side, she will eventually fall into the trap, and no matter how she chooses, she will inevitably face a tragic sacrifice in the end. The key point is not Shrek College, but Tang San. In addition, as early as when she came into contact with Tang San and accompanied him, Tang Hao, who was hidden in the dark, had already discovered the truth about her soul beast repair. As for why no action was taken, it is obviously related to Ian's sacrifice. Above the hall, Su Mu raised his hand and a silver shimmering object appeared in his palm, quietly drifting towards Xiaowu below. Xiaowu held on to it with both hands, and the silver shiny object fell into her palm. She picked it up cold. That is a silver-white necklace, emitting a cool radiance. This item is called Moon God Shelter, and can be carried with you to conceal your soul beast aura. As for how to make a decision, it's up to you, Su Mu said indifferently. Xiaowu stared blankly at the silver necklace in her hand, and the scene of the hall before her gradually became hazy and distorted. The two figures above the hall became increasingly hazy and distorted, eventually completely fading away. At the same time. Soto City, hotel room. Xiaowu suddenly woke up from her sleep and found herself lying on a soft big bed. Xiaowu, are you awake? Ning Rongrong happened to be by his side at this moment. You really scared me to death when you fainted before. It seems that guarding third brother was too tired and fell asleep. I will help you rest on the sofa for a while, and you can sleep for a while. Ning Rongrong explained. Xiaowu seemed to remember something, and immediately pulled out her palm from the bed and spread it out to see that she was really holding a silver-white necklace, emitting a cool radiance. She was confused. That's not a dream, it's actually true. What is this? It's such a beautiful necklace. Ning Rongrong immediately noticed the silver necklace in her palm and sighed from the bottom of her heart. Xiaowu, where did you buy this? It's so beautiful, I also want to buy one. Ning Rongrong was aroused by curiosity and stared at the necklace. Xiaowu curled up with her body, her hands embracing her knees, and her expression was desolate. Xiaowu, what's wrong with you? Ning Rongrong's smile narrowed and she noticed that her emotions were not quite right. Xiaowu gently shook her head, her chin supporting her knees. I'm fine, I'm just a bit homesick. Ning Rongrong gave her a hug. If you're homesick, you can take some time to go back and take a look. Speaking of which, I haven't been home for a long time. Why don't you come to my house then? Ning Rongrong said. In Xiaowu's mind, Rongrong suddenly mentioned the two titled Douluo in the sect and shook her head. At the same time. On the streets of Soto City, luxury carriages hanging Soto auction house flags set off towards the direction of Tiando City under the protection of many guards. Inside the carriage. Su Mu lifted the curtain and gazed at the bright sunlight outside, feeling quite good. Our next stop will be through the Baroque Kingdom City, which is the political and economic center of the Baroque Kingdom. Compared to Soto City, it will be more prosperous and the food will be more abundant. Su Mu turned his head to look at Yuena beside him and introduced. Yuena nodded slightly and said, You seem to have a lot of strange things. Are you talking about that necklace? Su Mu lowered the curtain. Those are all insignificant trinkets. At most, that necklace can conceal its aura in front of the title Douluo, and it is completely incomparable to the purple aura gifted to you. Su Mu chuckled calmly. The moon god provides protection and can only conceal his breath in front of the title Douluo. Creating purple chi, but able to evade divine pursuit. As long as Yuena doesn't act, she can even deceive the god king. I have a lot of similar things on my end. Su Mu raised his sleeve and brushed it over, adding several mysterious items to the table. A silver mirror shimmering with silver light, a candle that burns over half, jade cicadas carved from jade, a ring woven from green vines, a small green bottle of emerald green. These things immediately caught Yuena's attention. This mirror can replicate and reflect the clone, with one mind and two bodies, possessing approximately 70% of the body's strength. This candle can dispel the nightmares and demons in the heart, and assist in cultivating the mind. This jade cicada can turn the world around and rewrite life and death. This seemingly ordinary green vine woven ring, when worn, can maintain youth forever, but the cost is that it cannot be removed. As for this small green bottle, it is used for cultivating flowers and plants. Su Mu introduced her one by one. Yuena's gaze was fixed on the emerald green ring woven with vines, seeming somewhat moved. Su Mu picked up the green vine ring from the table and naturally pulled up Yuena's right hand, selecting her ring finger to wear. Bito immediately locked it according to the size of her fingers, and at the same time, the vine grew a delicate small white flower. This item is called the life ring. Wearing a flower will keep you youthful forever, which is very suitable for you, Sumu said with a smile. Yuena tentatively raised her finger and twisted it, only to find that it really couldn't be removed. She stared at Sumu in a daze, suddenly feeling like she was being tricked. End of this chapter.